Angiosperms or the flowering plants constitute the most dominant vascular plants and the most evolved form of plant kingdom. The angiosperms contain flowers and the flowers are the most colorful and brightest part of the earth's vegetation. They add not only the beauty to the environment but also very uh, pleasant fragrance. Some of the flowers have a mixed texture of different colors, whereas some others are just of a single color, as what you can see in the diagram. The term angiosperm means the enclosed seed because the ovules or the potential seeds are enclosed within a hollow ovary. So they are the most highly evolved and advanced form of plant kingdom as compared to the gymnosperms, and gymnosperms are as such the most evolved form as compared to the alga, bryophytes or the pteridophytes. So this makes angiosperms the most developed variety of plant kingdom. The angiosperms are capable of growing in any kind of habitat, from the desert to the polar regions to the aquatic areas. They are present almost everywhere. Even at times they are present in mycorrhizal association with the fungi, and this makes the angiosperms the widest variety of plant kingdom. The angiosperms also have presence of flowers in some environmental conditions which are very intense or which are very difficult for a plant to grow. Even for time at times you will see that the saprophytes, they also have presence of flowers within them, and this makes the angiosperms the highest surviving and most frequently found kind of plant in the environment. We will be discussing in details about the characteristics of the angiosperms and some other details about them. The angiosperms are seed-bearing vascular plants. They are they have ovary, and inside the ovary, the seed is well protected. So there are two purposes for the fruit or the outer ovary. First is it will be providing nutrition for any organism which consumes it, and second, if some organism is consuming it, think about a monkey, it will displace the fruit from one of the plant to some very far off place where it can grow and develop. So in this way the distribution is also taking place from one place to another because of the ovary wall getting developed into a fruit. Vascular system is very well developed. All the uh, components of xylem and phloem are present in the case of angiosperms. These angiosperms are present in the forest, grassland, sea margins, and even in the deserts. Some of the example of aquatic angiosperms are Vallisneria. If you remember the pollination, it is wind pollination, and even zooster is one of the variety of plant which is found in seas. Angiosperms display a huge variety of life forms, like they are present in trees. For example, mango tree has presence of flowers. Even herbs are present, sometimes aquatic birds or epiphytes are also there. Epiphytes are the plants which depend or which grow on some large plants, like the orchids. You may have seen the orchids growing on large plants, and as they are hygroscopic, they can absorb water from the environment as such, from the air, and then after they can grow. They take their food from the plant which is developing. If the roots, they can penetrate inside the epidermis of the plant. Only in those conditions these epiphytes, they can become parasitic as well. The largest plant families are the orchids or the compositae or the legumes. They are the highest variety or the most easily found plant kingdom species, and they are definitely the most developed ones. The general characteristics of the flowers or the angiosperms we'll be discussing now. First is that all the plants, they have a flower at some or the other stage of their life. Now we will be discussing that how is this flower very important. It is a reproductive structure, and it has the presence of endoecium and gynoecium. Endoecium is the area which is, or is the portion which is capable of forming the pollen grains, the male gametophyte, whereas the gynoecium is formed from the ovary, which is the female gametophyte. And the anther, when it combines with the anther or the pollen grain, when it comes in contact with the stigma, it germinates to form the pollen tube, and finally the fertilization is resultant. But before going into such details, let us discuss about the modification of a stem in order to form the flower. You all have an idea about the structure of a stem. Stem has presence of nodes and internodes. From the nodes arises the leaf. This is the general idea which we all have. Now, it is very important for you all to know that each of the leaf or the flower is a modified stem. So each of the nodes will give rise to the different roles of the flower. So I have made here four nodes. From each of the node, we will be give each of the node will be giving rise to one of the roles. For example, the first role is the calyx. Calyx will be formed from here. Next role is the corolla. Corolla is a beautiful petal part which is highly attractive and which attracts the pollinators towards it. Next is the presence of endoecium. Endoecium is the male gametophyte, and it has the presence of anther. Gynoecium is the innermost role, and the innermost role is the most important role because it has the presence of female gametophyte or ovary, along with stigma style is formed with the help of this structure along with the embryo sac. Now you can see that I have drawn the structure on a stem, right? But think that this entire structure is compressed. You are applying pressure from both the ends. If you apply the pressure from both the ends, what will happen to this entire structure? It will condense. How will it condense? It will condense and form this kind of structure, isn't it? Now further condensation may result in formation of a flower. Let us draw a flower. Flower has presence of petals. Try to adjust. Presence of receptacle, calyx, the green part. It will perform both the functions. One is the protection of the inner important roles like the endoecium, gynoecium, and the petals, as well as it is green in color, so definitely it is going to do the photosynthesis. And this area is the thalamus area or the receptacle which holds all the structure, the entire roles together. Pedicel is this stalk. Inside it will be the presence of endoecium. Endoecium will bear the microsporophylls. And gynoecium, I will be trying to make it with black color so that it is evident and visible. Embryo sac. So stigma, style, ovary. And this is the entire structure of a flower. How is it developing? It is developing from a stem. So it is a modified stem. What is a flower? A flower is a modified stem. And how is it formed? It is formed in this way. I hope it is understood. Now let's proceed. The next point is the flowers are the reproductive organs for the plants, providing them exchanging genetic information. This exchange of genetic information can only take place when the cross pollination occurs. Otherwise, there is no chance of variation taking place when the pollinators are not involved. The sporophyte is the differentiated to stem, roots, and leaves. So it is the most highest form of or most evolved quality of plant kingdom. plant of it is the most evolved form of the plant kingdom, and that's why this sporophytic stage or the diploid structure of the plant body has presence of stem, roots, and leaves. So all the gametophytes will be also diploid in nature, isn't it? But the gametophyte will undergo the meiosis in order to form the pollen grains, as well as the female gametophyte to form, and both of them, they will be capable of forming the next cells. Now here one more thing we need to discuss. For the female gametophyte, it is important that you always remember that it is known as megasporophyll. Or, and how is megasporophyll formed? It is formed from a megaspore mother cell. A megaspore mother cell will be formed after meiosis. Meiosis will result in mitosis. Two cells are formed. From one cell, two cells after the all the stages of cell cycle. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Finally, two cells will be formed. But in case of meiosis, if you remember, four cells are formed. So think that four cells are formed, and I am not making the cells linear, like in a circular way. I'm making them in a linear form. So think that these four cells are formed as a result of meiosis. In case of megaspore mother cell, since one of the cell needs to develop into an ovary has to perform various functions. It has to develop into a fruit and should be capable of carrying the seed within it. Not only that, the entire process of development, even after the seed has been formed, or it goes to the that entire dormant stage before the seed to seedling transformation occurs, in that time, during that time also there is requirement of energy. So in order to make one of these cell very strong and powerful, we want these three cells to get degenerated. So as a result of meiosis, in the flowers or in the megaspore mother cell, three of the cells degenerate, only one cell develops and it forms the ovary. Okay, I hope it is understood. This is the case of a female gametophyte. What about the male gametophyte? In the male, since the male gametophyte doesn't need to be surviving for such a long period of time, it is just required unless it undergoes fertilization, or it just needs to be present for a small span of time. That's why all these four cells which are formed as a result of meiosis, in case of microspore mother cell, all of them are viable. So I will be talking about megaspore, sorry, I will be talking about microspore. Again the same structure. Meiosis will result in formation of four cells. Each of the cells will be capable of forming a pollen grain, and each pollen grain will be capable of forming two male gametes. This is something you all are aware of. So let's discuss the next points. The vascular system has two vessels in the xylem and companion cells in the phloem, because these were missing in case of pteridophytes or in case of gymnosperms. So all the four components of the xylem and phloem will be present in case of the angiosperms. The stem, microsporophyll. Why the stamen or the endoecium is called microsporophyll? Micro means small, sporo means containing the spore before the meiosis has taken place. So it will contain the entire two and diploid structure of a spore, and fill because it has developed from a leaf. We are aware that how is that it has developed from a leaf. The carpel, it is a megaspore mother cell, megasporophyll, because mega means big size, it is larger in size. Spore, it is containing a diploid structure, and fill because it has developed from a leaf, or it is a modified leaf, are organized into a structure called a flower. That is the way. At first, calyx, corolla, endoecium, gynoecium. This is the way the entire flower is formed. Each microsporophyll has presence of four microsporangia. That is what we discussed. Each of the microspore mother cell will give rise to four microsporangia, and each of the microsporangia will develop into the pollen grain. The ovules are enclosed in the ovary at the base of the megasporophyll. Base of the megasporophyll is that embryo sac, which has undergone several division in order to form the 8 nucleated structure. The angiosperms are heterosporous because the male and the female gametes are of different size. The male gametophyte is smaller in size, whereas like the pollen grains, whereas the female gametophyte is larger in size, like the ovary. The single functional megaspore is permanently retained within the nucellus. Nucellus is a nutritive tissue which is surrounding the embryo sac in order to provide nutrition to the developing embryo in the later stage. The single functional megaspore is permanently retained within the nucellus. I just discussed about 4 cells, 3 cells got degenerated, only 1 cell was left, and that is the megaspore. And that is why it is retained within the nucellus, because it will be developing into the seed. The pollen grains transfer from the anther to the stigma by the process of pollination. If you remember the structure of the stigma, the structure is contains the style, and here is the ovary. In the ovary is presence of a specialized structure which is a embryo sac. Embryo sac has presence of various cells. Embryo sac is 8 nucleated, 1, 2, 3. So this is the way embryo sac looks like, and fertilization occurs once the pollen grain is deposited on the stigma. Because of the sugary substance present on the stigma, it gets absorbed, and the germ pore, it develops into a pollen tube. Pollen tube runs through the entire ovary and reaches the micropyle. As it reaches the micropyle, this pollen grain, it has developed into 2 cells by the time it starts developing the pollen tube. One of the cell is smaller in size, whereas the another cell is larger. The larger cell forms the pollen tube, whereas the smaller cell is contained within the pollen tube. This smaller cell is capable of forming 2 male sperm cells. One sperm cell will go and fertilize with the egg to form a zygote, whereas the another sperm cell will move till the polar nuclei and undergo triple fusion to form the endosperm. So there are 2 processes which take place in case of double fertilization. First is, why is it called double fertilization? Because 2 fertilization is taking place. One is the fertilization to form the endosperm, another fertilization to form the zygote. And why triple fusion? Because 2 polar nuclei and 1 male sperm cell fuses to form the endosperm. So it is a triple fusion. So this idea has to be kept in mind. The pollen grains are much smaller than the gametophytes or the reproductive cells present in the non-flowering plants. The sporophytes are diploid. In case of the angiosperms, the dominant stage is the dominant part of the stage or part of the life cycle of this plant body is a sporophyte. The root system is very complex, and it consists of all the layers from epidermis to cortex to endodermis to Casparian strip, xylem, phloem, everything is present. Because the plant has to survive for a longer period of time. The duration for which this plant has to survive, it can vary from few months to several years, several hundreds of years. So it all depends. The next part is that the flowers undergo double and triple fertilization. We have discussed about it. The angiosperms can survive in variety of habitats. They are examples of aquatic plants like the Hydrilla, zooster, or the Vallisneria, whereas the normal mango or banyan tree, which you have seen in your locality. The process of fertilization is quicker in angiosperms. The seeds are also produced quickly due to smaller female reproductive parts. In case of gymnosperms, it used to take 2 to 3 years, even 4 or 5 years for the cone cells or for the cones to get disrupted and germinate into a next plant body. All angiosperms are comprised of stamens, which are reproductive structures of the flowers. Because stamens are they are the endoecium. They produce the pollen grains that carry the hetery information. Whereas the carpels also contain the hetery information, but it is present in the form of ovary or the ovules, which are formed only after fertilization. The production of the endosperm is one of the greatest advantage of the angiosperm because it provides nutrition to the developing embryo. The endosperm is formed after fertilization and is a source of food for the developing seed and the seedling. The classification of Angiosperms is on the basis of only these two things which you already have an idea about. It is about the monocot and the dicot, depending on the kind of seeds they produce. Monocots differ from dicots in four distinct structural features: the leaves, the stem, roots, and the flowers. But the differences start from very beginning of the plant life, the seed, because when they are developing at that time only we can differentiate. Only one leaf develops in case of monocot, whereas in case of dicot, two leaves develop. Within the seed lies the plant's embryo, whereas monocots have one cotyledon. You remember the maize, and dicots have two cotyledons, like the gram. Let's have a small comparison. Embryo with single cotyledon in case of monocots, two cotyledons in case of dicot. Pollen grains, single furrow or pore is present. Three furrows or pores are present in case of dicots. Flower parts in multiple of three in case of monocots, whereas in case of dicots it's four or five. Major leaf is parallel venation. You can see only parallel venation in case of monocots. Just by looking at the venation we can determine a plant is having parallel venation or reticulate venation, that it is a monocot or a dicot, but this is at times disruptive. There are some exceptions to this. Stem vascular bundles are scattered in case of monocots, whereas in dicots the rings are present. If we see the section of stem we will be able to differentiate it. We will do it in anatomy part. The roots are adventitious in case of monocots, whereas in case of dicots, the roots develop from radicle. Secondary growth is not seen in case of monocots, whereas in case of dicots, it is present. If you see the entire structure, structural differentiation is given of the same things which we discussed. You can see the single seed in case of maize, whereas in gram seed or bean seed, you can see that two cotyledons are present. Parallel venation is shown in case of maize, whereas reticulate venation is shown in case of maybe bitter gourd or mango. Flowers, they are present in multiple of three in case of monocot, whereas in case of dicot, they are four or five. Stem is, you can see the way the vascular bundles are scattered, whereas in case of dicots, they are well arranged. Outside is the xylem, inside portion, the blue portion which is visible is the phloem. Fibrous roots are present in case of monocots, whereas taproot system is present in case of the dicots. The examples are also given. If we see the germination style of the uh, dicots, it is most mostly it is as such that we call it as epigeal kind of germination, where from the radicle or from the seed at first the radicle develops, the root system is well formed, and then two leaves will be developing at the same time for the formation of hypocotyle part. See, two leaves are developing, whereas in case of monocot or hypogeal only one leaf is arising in the epicotyle, and both the growth of epicotyle as well as hypocotyle is taking place simultaneously, whereas in case of dicots at first the roots develop and the radicle develops, and later on the upper part or the epicotyle tends to develop. And what happens to the cotyledons? The cotyledons, they are the seed leaves, and they are the protective ones, protective leaves covering the small germinating seeds, sorry, germinating first leaves of the epi epigeal germination of pea. So this is just it is just the simple style of germination in case of monocot as well as dicot. We have discussed all these things today in order to have an idea about the classification of the angiosperms, and at the end we just need to recapitulate that how can we differentiate the plants. I hope it is understood by you all. Thank you.